Welcome back to your ultimate General Hospital destination. Explosive secrets, heartbreaking betrayals, and shocking twists are shaking Port Charles to its core. Stay tuned, today's episode changes everything. There is something special about this show that keeps longtime fans like me coming back, even when life gets busy. The latest developments with Ethan have me thinking deeply about family, protection, and the secrets that refuse to stay buried in Port Charles. Ethan has always been a complicated young man, full of charm, but carrying shadows from his past. When I saw him sneaking into that evidence room and later switching the DNA samples, my first reaction was pure shock. Why would he risk everything like that? But as the story unfolds, it becomes clearer that this was not some reckless act. He replaced his own DNA with stolen evidence from the PCPD, and I believe he did it to protect little Phoebe. The way he moved so carefully after Elizabeth left the lab room shows how calculated this was. He even arranged a distraction call to get her out of the way. That level of planning tells me Ethan knows exactly what he is doing and why. I have always admired characters who step up for family, even when it is not their blood. In my opinion, Ethan is doing this because he truly cares for Delilah's daughter. Phoebe deserves a safe home, and the Quartermaine Mansion offers exactly that kind of protection and love. Chase and Brooklyn are doing their best to finalize the adoption, and I feel hopeful for them. Yet I cannot help wondering what will happen if Willow raises any objections. She has been supportive so far, but one wrong move from Chase could change everything. These quiet moments of tension make the story feel so real, like the worries we all carry for our own families. What fascinates me most is how Ethan seems to know the identity of Phoebe's real father. He must have recognized that Man's DNA was already in the police records. That means the father has a criminal history in Port Charles, and Ethan arrived too late to save Delilah from him. I keep asking myself, did Ethan learn about this dangerous man through an old friend? The show has been hinting at connections from Ethan's past, and I think one of his former acquaintances is about to step back into the light. This secret person could be the key that unlocks so many mysteries. If my hunch is right, this old friend knows things about that dangerous father that even Ethan does not fully understand yet. The new shocks hitting the canvas feel especially powerful because they tie directly into Ethan's risky DNA switch. Suddenly, there are unexpected appearances that no one saw coming. These surprise returns are shaking up relationships all across Port Charles and making Ethan's actions even more urgent. I love how the writers are weaving these threads together. One moment we are watching a tender adoption story, and the next we are hit with the possibility of a hidden threat still walking free. It creates that wonderful soap opera feeling where danger and love sit side by side. I have my own theory about why Ethan needed that switch test result so badly. He wanted solid proof in his hands so he could sign the adoption papers without hesitation. If he already has the fake results showing he is Phoebe's father, then everything moves forward smoothly for Chase and Brooklyn. But deep down, Ethan is not doing this for himself. He is protecting Phoebe from a man who might still be out there, free and dangerous. Brooklyn's account of that night gives me chills. She stayed right by Delilah's side and checked on the baby often. No suspicious strangers were seen near the nursery, yet something clearly terrified Delilah before she passed. Could that mysterious father have reached her earlier, leaving emotional scars that no one else noticed? These questions keep me eager for the next episodes. Will Ethan's old friend appear and reveal the full truth about Phoebe's father? How will the switched DNA eventually come to light? I suspect the explosion is coming soon, and it will affect more lives than just Ethan's. The haunting new storylines building around this secret are exactly what makes General Hospital so addictive after all these decades. We have seen families torn apart and put back together many times, but this one feels personal because it centers on an innocent child who needs safety. Let me share something from my heart as a longtime viewer. I appreciate how the show allows characters to make messy, human choices out of love. Ethan's decision may be legally wrong, but morally, I understand it. He wants Phoebe growing up surrounded by the Quartermaine resources and protection instead of facing an unknown threat. That kind of fierce guardianship reminds me of classic General Hospital storylines from years ago when parents would move mountains to shield their children. The difference here is the modern twist with DNA evidence and police records, which makes it feel fresh and exciting. I also find myself thinking about Elizabeth and her role in all this. She is such a steady presence at the hospital, and the way Ethan used a distraction involving her shows how far he was willing to go. Will she discover what happened in her lab? If she does, I hope she responds with the compassion she has always shown. General Hospital excels at these moral gray areas where good people do questionable things for the right reasons. That complexity is what keeps me emotionally invested even after all these years. The unexpected appearances that are stirring up trouble right now have me on the edge of my seat. New faces connected to old stories often bring the biggest revelations. Perhaps one of them knows the real father and can confirm whether he is still free or locked away. Ethan clearly believes the man is still out there, and that belief drives every careful step he takes. This creates such a strong sense of urgency that I can almost feel the tension through the screen. As someone who has followed these characters through births, deaths, weddings, and scandals, I believe this current arc is building towards something truly memorable. Ethan's protection of Phoebe, the switched DNA, the old friend's shadow, and the surprise returns are all colliding at the perfect moment. It makes me wonder what other secrets are hiding in Port Charles right now. Will Chase and Brooke Lynn get to raise Phoebe in peace? Or will the truth explode before the adoption is final? I am genuinely excited to see how this all plays out. The writers have done a wonderful job making me care deeply about a little baby I have only seen briefly on screen. That is the magic of this show. It turns complicated plots into stories about love, sacrifice, and second chances. Ethan may have broken rules, but his heart seems to be in the right place. I just hope the upcoming revelations bring more light than darkness for everyone involved. Ethan's decision to switch the DNA samples was already risky, but now it feels like the consequences are catching up faster than anyone anticipated. He did it to shield little Phoebe, and I still believe his heart was in the right place. Yet the new complications suggest that his actions have opened doors he cannot easily close. Hudson appears to be caught in his own rising troubles, and the way these two men are now linked creates a special relationship that adds real emotional weight to the tale. I have always appreciated when the show explores male friendships or alliances formed under pressure, and this one feels authentic. Hudson brings a different energy, perhaps from Ethan's past, and their growing connection is making Ethan's protective efforts even more urgent. What fascinates me is how Hudson's own difficulties seem to mirror and amplify Ethan's situation. Hudson is facing increasing problems that tie directly back to the same dangerous circles Ethan has been trying to keep Phoebe away from. Their special bond, built on shared history and mutual understanding, is now at the center of new troubles that are building toward an explosion in Ethan's story. I keep asking myself whether Hudson knows the full identity of Phoebe's real father, or if he holds pieces of the puzzle that Ethan still needs. The writers are handling this beautifully, letting the tension rise gradually so that every conversation between Ethan and Hudson feels loaded with meaning. As someone who has followed these characters through decades of drama, I love seeing how one risky choice, like switching those DNA results, can ripple outward and draw others into the storm. The new adjustments in the plot make perfect sense to me. Ethan thought he had secured Phoebe's future by arranging the fake test results, but Hudson's troubles are forcing him to reconsider everything. Perhaps Hudson's rising issues involve old debts or threats from the same man whose DNA Ethan replaced in the records. This connection between them is not just convenient for the story, it feels earned. I have my own theory that Hudson may have been the old friend Ethan turned to for information about the criminal father. Their special relationship now puts both men at risk, and I suspect this will lead to some powerful scenes where they must decide how far they are willing to go for each other and for Phoebe. Chase and Brooke Lynn are still moving forward with the adoption, and I remain hopeful for them. They offer the stable, loving home that Phoebe deserves inside the Quartermaine mansion. Yet with Hudson's troubles escalating, I worry that the truth about the switched DNA could surface at the worst possible moment. Willow continues to play an important supporting role, and any tension with Chase might create additional obstacles. These layered conflicts keep the story feeling alive and human. Ethan wants nothing more than to protect Delilah's daughter from the dangers her real father might still pose. The fact that no suspicious strangers were seen at the hospital the night Delilah gave birth only deepens the mystery. Brooke Lynn's constant presence by her side makes the hidden threat even more chilling. I truly believe this new chapter is building towards something memorable. The special relationship between Ethan and Hudson adds warmth and complexity to Ethan's otherwise solitary struggle. Their conversations hint at loyalty tested by time and trouble, and I find myself rooting for them both. Hudson's rising difficulties are not just background noise. They are actively reshaping Ethan's path and forcing him to confront choices he hoped to avoid. Will their bond help expose the real father, or will it bring even greater danger to Port Charles? These questions keep me excited for the coming episodes. The show has always excelled at turning personal alliances into major turning points, and this feels like one of those moments. As a devoted viewer well into my later years, I appreciate how General Hospital continues to explore themes of redemption and sacrifice. Ethan's actions may be questionable in the eyes of the law, but his love for Phoebe and his growing trust in Hudson feel genuine. The new adjustments in the storyline are raising the stakes beautifully, creating an emotional explosion that longtime fans like me have been waiting for. I cannot help but wonder what surprises Hudson will bring next and how deeply his connection with Ethan will affect everyone around them, especially little Phoebe.